Discover the amazing truth, how I unknowingly revealed my naivety to my daughter-in-law's family. Jake stood at the entrance of his garage, grease-stained hands gripping the wrench with a familiar comfort. It was just weeks before his son, Ben, would marry Maria, a bright-eyed woman from an affluent family in Chicago. No matter how hard he tried, an unsettling feeling rolled in his stomach, a mix of pride and dread. What could a mechanic like him possibly bring to her family's table? Would they ever see the value in a life built on hard work? Sitting at the dinner table with Maria's family, Jake felt the weight of their unspoken judgment bearing down on him. He shared stories of his early morning shifts and always emphasized the pride he took in his work, how every dent fixed and every engine tuned was a testament to perseverance. As he recounted how he taught Ben to respect the grind, he noticed the subtle glances exchanged between them, their smirks hidden behind clinking silverware. Were they laughing at him? The glow of the chandelier did little to lighten the air thick with unease. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With the wedding looming ever closer, Jake felt the ground beneath him shifting. The garage had always been his sanctuary, a world of steel and grease, rhythmic sounds that soothed his soul. But now, that same world was crumbling under the weight of unexpected bills. Each sharp breath he took felt constricted, a vice tightening around his chest. All those years of hard work seemed futile when faced with eviction. When he finally reached out to Maria's family for help, the indifference was palpable. "We admire those who labor," her father said, dismissive, "but labor is not the only path to success." Each word struck Jake like a hammer on steel. Labor was his identity, the warm metal of his hands the only thing he'd ever truly known. The disdain within their glances pierced deeper than he expected. In their eyes, he was just a mechanic, trembling with frustration. He returned to his workshop. What was a man without his craft? His mind raced as he considered all that was at stake. Then, something unexpected happened. As he began to work on a piece of furniture, the scent of wood and varnish enveloped him, igniting a fire he hadn't realized he possessed. Each cut, each polish of the wood came alive beneath his fingertips, his passion redirecting pain into creation. How had he not seen this before? He was fighting to prove his worthiness, but now it felt different, almost liberating. The community rallied, voicing their adoration for his craftsmanship. Yet a smoldering fear lingered. What if Maria's family would never appreciate this part of him? The towering doubt threatened to drown his newfound spirit. Jake's heart raced at the thought of the wedding. His hands trembled as he envisioned what might unfold. Would they finally understand him? Or would he forever be trapped in the shadow of his past? The looming ceremony felt like a battlefield, and as Jake squared his shoulders, he couldn't shake the feeling that his worthiness would soon be called into question. Uncertainty hung in the air, heavier than any weight he had ever lifted, his destiny balanced on the edge of a knife. Determined to reclaim his narrative, Jake envisioned the wedding day not as an arena filled with judgment, but as an opportunity to present his true self. He spent every spare moment in the garage, immersed in both his mechanical repairs and burgeoning woodworking skills. Each project became a mission to craft pieces reflecting his journey, melding his identity as a mechanic with that of a skilled artisan. He felt an adrenaline surge flowing through him while sanding a rough-hewn table, the shavings whisked away like the insecurities that threatened to overshadow him. But as usual, the quiet satisfaction soon morphed into anxiety. Despite his transformation, doubts gnawed at him like rust on metal. Would Maria's family appreciate his talent? Or would they merely see it as a hobby, a distraction from what they deemed a more respectable profession? The days dragged on, filled with preparation for the upcoming wedding. As much as Jake tried to focus on his projects, he could not ignore the looming anxiety about the reception. He decided then, in a moment of desperate clarity, that he would confront Maria's family directly. If they doubted his worth, he would speak to them from the heart, revealing the pride that fueled his toil. On the eve of the wedding, after a long day of final adjustments to his creations, Jake slipped into the quiet of the garage. The comforting scent of wood and metal enveloped him, grounding him. He meticulously placed the pieces he had crafted for the reception items that told his story on display. Every stroke of his tool was a step towards reclaiming his identity, shaping the narratives that had often been overlooked. The next day dawned, the sun casting golden rays that felt like a beacon. As Jake dressed for the ceremony, he reflected on how the suits he wore for formal occasions had always felt foreign, yet today he donned his achievements. He arrived earlier than everyone else, carrying a few of his wooden pieces, determined to find a moment to speak to Maria's parents. As guests began to fill the venue, Jake's pulse quickened. A knot churned in his stomach, hovering between excitement and fear. He set down the handcrafted items, which now seemed to carry the weight of his self-discovery. When Maria's family arrived, he noticed the grandeur in their attire, an immediate amplification of his insecurities. Things cascaded quickly. He was being swept into conversations, engaging with laughter and small talk. But beneath the surface, an internal battle raged. Just as he thought he would lose the nerve to confront them, moments of silence pierced through the din. He caught Maria's father's eye and nodded toward his pieces, summoning the courage to step into the light. "Can I show you something?" With deliberate movements, he led them to his display, where his work stood proud. The wood gleamed under the intricate lighting, with grains telling a story of patience and care. As the family gathered around, the tension in Jake's chest lodged itself in his throat, now bracing himself for the scorn he believed he might receive. A flicker of doubt sparked in his mind. What if their laughter morphed into praise? What if this defiance yielded acceptance? The time had come to face their perceptions head-on. Would they appreciate the craftsmanship behind each piece, or would they dismiss him again? As he looked into their eyes, hoping for a ray of understanding, he braced for the inevitable confrontation that would define not just this day, but his future too. Jake steadied his breath, feeling the weight of his creations pulse within the thrumming of the music playing in the background. Tension rippled through him as he scanned the faces of Maria's family. 5 sets of eyes trained on him, intrigue etched into their expressions. This was no longer just about wood and craftsmanship, it was a confrontation of identities. As he spoke, his voice was steadier than he expected. "I wanted to share these pieces with you because they represent who I am. Each one reflects resilience and passion, parts of my journey that led me here today." He gestured towards a table, its surface smooth and inviting, flanked by smaller wooden sculptures that captured moments, an abstract representation of a sunrise, a family of intertwined figures. Maria's mother tilted her head, examining the sculptures in silence, and Jake felt the precariousness of the moment rest heavy on his shoulders. Their eyes, at once scrutinizing and contemplative, mirrored his internal tempest. He braced himself, anticipating judgment yet yearning for acceptance. "So, you made all of this?" Maria's father finally spoke, his tone skeptical but not unkind. The question hung in the air like an uninvited guest, demanding a response Jake was unsure how to deliver. "Yeah," Jake said, forcing a chuckle despite the tightness in his chest. "I've been working on my skills for a while now. It's a passion that helps me cope, you know? Life isn't always straightforward." A moment passed, and he watched as the family exchanged glances. In that heartbeat, Jake realized how vulnerable he was standing before them, unshielded and raw. "Do you have formal training?" Maria's sister asked, her voice tinged with curiosity rather than disdain. He hesitated, the truth weighing heavily on him. "No, just hands-on experience, years of trial and error. I've never set foot in a classroom for this. But I've learned through doing, through mistakes." Their faces shifted in response to his honesty, and he saw Maria's mother soften slightly, as if his admission connected with her. Jake leaned in, ready to seize this unexpected opening. "I know it might not seem like much, perhaps it's more of a hobby to you, but it's part of who I am. And I want to be a part of Maria's life in all of my complexity, not just the mechanic you might be heard about. His words hung in the air, charged with his newfound resolve. Jake had never articulated his truth so openly, and it felt empowering. But with that empowerment came the familiar flicker of fear. Would this authenticity backfire? Would they later see him as an imposter playing at artistry? Maria's father raised an eyebrow and nodded thoughtfully. You do understand that we value education highly, right? It's just how we were raised. Jake felt the surge of adrenaline ease as concerns about their approval took a back seat to the realization of his own self-worth. I do. I get that. And I respect it. But I'm proving to myself that my path doesn't have to mirror anyone else's. Sometimes passion isn't the same thing as prestige. As the words flowed, Jake sensed a shift. A mixture of respect and curiosity flickered in their eyes. It wasn't wholly acceptance yet, but it was a beginning. Just then, a ripple of laughter erupted from across the room, drawing attention away from them. Jake's moment of bravery was punctuated by a disruption that sent a jolt of uncertainty through him. How would this shift impact his unveiling, his acceptance? Would this vulnerability be met with recognition, or would their familial ties still cast shadows too long for him to escape? As he rejoined the throng of wedding celebrations, a new surge of determination coursed through him. He would not only confront his fears today, but continue to unravel the complexities of his identity moving forward. The stakes were higher than he ever anticipated, and the path before him felt fraught with both promise and peril. What awaited him back in the garage, a space of solace and creativity, now felt like a beacon of potential growth. But as the night deepened, he had to wonder if confronting Maria's family was only the first step in a much larger journey, one that could lead to profound revelations about himself. Jake's heart raced as he considered what new complexities the evening would unveil. Could he truly reshape perceptions, or would this moment merely be an echo in the grand scheme of their lives? Jake stepped into the garage, the familiar scent of sawdust and varnish enveloping him like an old friend, calming yet invigorating. The chaos of the family gathering slowly faded away, replaced by the comforting solitude he craved. He squared his shoulders, feeling the weight of his earlier words linger in the air like an unresolved melody. Those brief interactions had begun to scratch the surface of his identity, but what lay beneath was still a labyrinth waiting to be explored. In the dim light, his latest piece sat on the workbench. It was half-finished, a delicate carving of intertwined figures meant to symbolize connection and unity. He picked up his tools, each instrument a reminder of countless hours spent honing his craft, a pursuit fueled by passion, yes, but underscored by a yearning to be seen, understood, and, most importantly, accepted. Grabbing the chisel, Jake closed his eyes for a moment, running through the conversations with Maria's family, replaying their expressions, waiting for approval or approval's absence. Was he merely a carpenter pretending to be an artist? His hands trembled as the self-doubt swelled again, a familiar tide threatening to pull him back into the depths of insecurity. Instead of yielding to it, he forced his focus back to the carving. As he began to work, each slice of wood felt like a catharsis. The rhythmic motion soothed his nerves. He was not just removing extraneous fibers, he was sculpting parts of himself that had long lain buried under layers of performance and expectation. The sound of the chisel meeting the wood mirrored the determination pulsating within him. In that moment, with his thoughts catalogued and his hands busy, he became aware of another layer of his artistry, one that he had inadvertently introduced to Maria's family. The courage in sharing his journey echoed in every sculpted curve and every polished surface. It was raw. It was vulnerable. It was true. An idea emerged uninvited, shifting his focus from self-pity to ambition. What if he could transform the perceptions of those who deemed his work as less? What if he invited them into his world? The pieces on display were an invitation, a way of showing his depth, but the echoing question remained: how to bridge the gap between their established worldview and his emerging one. His heart drummed in his chest, urgency igniting as he began to sketch out a plan. Perhaps he could host a workshop in the garage, a chance for them to see his process firsthand, to witness the dedication behind each creation. It would require courage, a public display of his artistry stripped of pretense, but maybe that was the very antidote to the fear that encased him. The thought sent adrenaline coursing through his veins, eclipsing the hesitation that had clouded his mind. This initiative wouldn't just display his craft. It would introduce them, perhaps even Maria, to the depths of his passion, the true essence behind the wood. Yet as excitement pulsed through him, Jake wrestled with questions that clawed at the edges of his newfound resolve. What if they still viewed it merely as an elaborate hobby? What if he was met with indifference? Dread crept in, diverting his enthusiasm into swirling doubts. He took a deep breath, forcing the apprehension back. Growth demanded discomfort, and if the night had taught him anything, it was that he was tired of fading into the background. He glanced once again at the carving taking form before him, a reflection of his transformation, no longer merely functional, but also beautiful in its complexity. The garage began to feel less like a refuge and more like a launchpad. With each strike of the chisel, Jake felt the solidity of his decisions harden, reinforcing his presence not only as an artist, but as a man ready to fight for his place in the world, no more hiding behind shadows. But before he could allow the momentum to carry him beyond that moment, the doubts returned, sharp and insistent, taunting him with the likelihood of another confrontation. Could he afford to risk further rejection? Jake had always enjoyed the certainty of solid forms, objects that yielded to his craftsmanship with predictable results. But what awaited him with the workshop, a true unveiling of himself, was anything but certain. He paused, staring at the half-finished piece, realization dawning as if he were looking at a transformation in progress, both externally and within himself. It was a gamble, but perhaps it was time to test the mettle of his newfound strength. In the stillness, he found his answer amidst his fear. Whatever awaited him, a budding acceptance or lingering skepticism, he had to embrace it. The moment of truth drew closer, and for the first time, he felt ready to face it, uncertain yet determined. As he laid the tools down, Jake pondered the myriad ways this journey could unfold. What would his bold leap mean for his relationship with Maria's family? Would his decision bring them closer or fracture what thin bond had begun to form? The workshop was a step into the unknown, and with a resolute nod to himself, he understood the stakes had just risen significantly. Would he finally be the man he sought to become, or would he remain a shadow in his own life? Jake woke up the next morning, the echoes of his evening resolution still ringing in his mind. The workshop idea consumed him, leaving him with a head filled with possibilities, even as the nagging uncertainty clawed at his gut. He pulled on an old t-shirt, one that carried the soft, faded imprints of wood shavings and paint stains, the fabric a testament to years of labor and growth. As he stepped into the daylight, the sun lit his path and somehow nudged him in the right direction, affirming the urgency welling up inside. After a quick breakfast, Jake made a list of tasks for the workshop. He would clear out the clutter in the garage, ensuring the space was welcoming. He wanted potential attendees to feel the warmth of his home, his art, and through it all, him. His mind raced as he jotted down bullet points, set up tables for demonstrations, gather tools to showcase, and most importantly, compose a few words to share the essence of his craft. Each task he completed filled him with a sense of purpose, but beneath that, he felt the tremors of doubt resurface. What if no one showed up? After all, this was a significant shift for him, an open invitation to be both vulnerable and exposed. His heart sank at the thought that Maria's family might still dismiss his work as amateurish, but he pressed on. Discomfort was part of growth. He could no longer stand idle in the shadow of self-doubt. This workshop wasn't just for them, but for him to reclaim his identity as an artist. Setting up the space, Jake stumbled upon a box of old photographs, snapshots from family gatherings. Snapshots of smiles captured and moments frozen in time. He flipped through them, seeing himself oscillate between joy and insecurity, never quite fitting into the fabric of the family. But maybe this workshop could be the change he needed. The key to weaving himself into that tapestry. He pulled out an image from a family barbecue, the look of amusement on his face as he held a crude wooden sculpture he had crafted during a particularly uninspiring summer. Its clumsiness reminded him of the innocent passion that had once ignited his love for woodworking. Would they see that passion now, later that afternoon? While arranging the tables, an unexpected knock at the garage door momentarily interrupted his thoughts. Maria stood there, a smile brightening her face, arms crossed over her chest. "What are you working on out here?" she asked, stepping inside. "Preparing for the workshop," he replied, a hint of pride tinting his voice. Her gaze traveled the length of the room, landing on the half-finished piece that stowed like a closely guarded secret. "You're actually going to go through with it?" The question held both challenge and curiosity. Jake felt his pulse quicken. "Yeah, I think it's time they see what I do. What I can do." Her brows knitted in concern. "And if they don't react well? What if they think it's too simple?" That familiar wave of dread washed over him, but this time he faced it head-on. What if they do? What if it turns out that all these years of trying to fit into their expectations have only kept me from becoming who I really am? Maria fell silent, contemplating his words as her fingers absently traced the edge of a table. "It's brave, Jake. I'll be there to support you." For the first time, he caught a glimpse of approval, and it buoyed his spirits. "I guess I'm done hiding," he said, the statement as much a declaration as it was a mantra. As they prepared together for the workshop, the conversation shifted to their shared dreams and insecurities. Ever so gently, Jake felt the walls he had erected begin to crumble, revealing a confidence that had long been buried. With each passing moment, the reality of facing Maria's family drew closer, and the familiar tension re-entered the room. By nightfall, the groundwork was laid not only for the workshop, but for Jake's transformation, a chance to transcend ordinary expectations. Yet in the quiet hum of the evening, a recurring doubt ignited within him. Would he still be met with ambivalence? Would he brave the storm only to be met with indifference? The tension brewed like a gathering storm as Jake clutched the edges of the workbench, the chisel at the ready in his hand. It was only a matter of time before he would stand in front of them, risking vulnerability in search of acceptance. Just as the moon peeked through the clouds, illuminating the space, a creeping realization struck him. The workshop wasn't just a showcase. It was a battlefield for his identity. The moment of truth approached, and the stakes continued to rise. What lay ahead could either solidify a new beginning or shatter his fragile resolve into pieces he would have to reconstruct all over again. Jake stood at the threshold of his reckoning, knowing that the next step into the light could very well redefine everything he had come to know about himself. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the shadows lengthened in the garage, heightening the gravity of the moment. Jake breathed deeply, his mind swirling with thoughts of potential rejection and the fear of stumbling over his own words. He paced the garage, running his fingers over the smooth wood of his latest creation, as if it could ground him in the midst of impending chaos. How did he allow himself to reach this point? The anticipation gnawed at him, morphing into an anxious energy that was both exhilarating and petrifying. He could dismiss the idea of showcasing his artistry, bury it beneath the weight of family expectations. Yet, he knew that if he chose that path, he would only sink further into the quicksand of self-doubt. He decided then and there that this workshop would be a journey not just for those who attended, but for him as well. With that resolution, Jake began to mentally prepare. He could sense the edges of his fear hardening into resolve. Maybe this was about more than just art. It would be about reclaiming parts of himself that had been forgotten. As he set the last table in place, he thought of the conversations he'd have. He imagined family members hesitating, then openly criticizing his work, and he wanted to be ready. He attempted to picture how those moments would unfold. What would he say? Would he defend his creations, or let the disappointment bring him down? Clenching his jaw, he decided he wouldn't allow criticism to break him. Not this time. He grabbed a few scraps of wood, running his fingers across their uneven surfaces, and began crafting simple shapes. It wasn't intricate work, just gestures of his dedication to his craft. The rhythmic action of carving soothed him, replacing the cacophony of doubt with a growing steadiness. Suddenly, even the thought of showing his work to Maria's family transformed. His previous insecurities morphed into questions. What if they didn't react the way he feared? What if, despite his vulnerabilities, they actually embraced his creativity? The next day blurred into the main event, about to unfold like a fragile piece of art. Jake organized photos of his previous works for display, each one a window into his creative evolution. A sly confidence crept up on him, puncturing his doubts like a gentle breeze through thick fog. The time had come to reveal not just his sculptures, but the passion behind them. As the sun filtered through the garage window that morning, he could almost hear time ticking, a reminder that every second was drawing him closer to the threshold of his fears. He was no longer just a nervous artist. He was Jake, a creator wanting recognition and acceptance. Straying away from the desire to fit in, he began thinking of a better approach. Why not invite each guest to share their thoughts? Moon tea that transformed the experience into a dialogue. The first hour passed in a blur, filled with small talk, laughter, and waiting for faces he knew all too well. And just as the clock struck noon, he heard the unmistakable crunch of gravel, a sound that made breath catch in his throat. They had arrived. As he turned towards the garage entrance, multiple figures emerged, including Maria, who was lit up with a smile that spoke of her support and encouragement. Jake steeled himself as the door swung fully open and the light flooded inward, illuminating the space he had worked so hard to prepare. This was the moment. The energy in the air shifted, and the warm sunlight suddenly felt like the spotlight he feared. Would the warmth of the moment shield against the chill of judgment? Would the importance of this gathering carry him through rejection, should it come? Jake gathered momentum, stepping forward, carving his place in the world he had long been hesitant to occupy. He was not merely revealing art today, but unveiling a piece of his very identity. As he approached his audience, glimmers of confidence painted his internal landscape, yet stark realizations flooded his mind. The workshop was not just about showcasing his ability, it was about understanding their viewpoints too. Would he open himself enough to absorb their reactions? Could he transform this be as much their journey as it was his? The moment hung palpably in the air, thick with anticipation. What awaited him could be a fusion of acceptance or a storm of criticism. Jake inhaled deeply, mentally preparing for whichever path lay ahead. He was ready to embrace it, whatever it would reveal. As he took that breath, he knew this revelation was only half of what the day would bring. But as he launched into his presentation, the unanswered questions echoed, pulling him forward into a daring exploration. What personal truths would be unearthed as he confronted not only his family, but also himself? Jake's heart drummed a frantic rhythm as he stepped forward, the sunlight spilling into the garage, illuminating the array of wood sculptures like beacons of hope. The faces before him flickered between familial familiarity and an unsettling uncertainty, drawing him into a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. This wasn't just a presentation, it was the stage for his self-discovery, an arena for the echoes of his past hesitations to collide with the promise of the present. "Thank you all for coming," Jake began, his voice slightly trembling, but steadied by the resolve burgeoning within. Each word felt like a stone laid on a path previously shrouded in shadows. He gestured to the first sculpture, a whimsical piece inspired by childhood memories of playing in the woods. "This one captures the essence of adventure and innocence. It embodies what I loved most about being a kid," he shared, allowing some warmth to seep into his voice. As he spoke, he observed their responses. Maria's eyes sparkled with pride, a silent cheerleader in the crowd. Yet the expressions of others revealed a spectrum of reactions, curiosity blended with raised eyebrows. Would they connect with his stories, or was he merely allowing himself to float in delusions of grandeur? Critiques began to trickle out, each comment a pebble dropped into the pool of his confidence. "It's nice, but do you think something like this would sell?" one relative finally asked, folding her arms with a slightly skeptical tilt. The question hung there, heavy. Would he defend himself against the unyielding practicality of their opinions? A surge of defiance coursed through him, driving away the remnants of self-doubt. It's not about selling. It's about expression, about connecting with our inner selves. What do you feel when you look at it? He felt undeniably empowered, flipping the narrative from defense to inquiry, transforming criticism into an open-ended exploration. Conversations began to unfurl, and as the minutes passed, he witnessed the shift within the room. With each piece, he invited questions, not as an artist seeking approval, but as a man yearning for connections, the kind that weathered familial skepticism and forged a path toward vulnerability. Yet, even as they engaged, Jake's mind raced ahead. What if deeper critiques emerged? What if he had unveiled not just his artistry, but inadvertently exposed his own naivety and idealism to a world that valued realism over dreams? With each interaction, he carefully scrutinized their group dynamic, weaving through their thoughts with attentiveness. Their reactions became the brushstrokes that could color his day were they to become allies or anchors weighing him down. The workshop intermission provided brief solace, but was fraught with his internal tussle. Did he fear that any negative feedback would dramatize his belief that creativity and ambition were frivolities? He yearned for validation, the kind that confirmed he wasn't chasing an illusion, but meaning deeper than the surface-level decorum they held dear. As conversations continued, the interplay of encouragement and critique pushed him toward a revelation. Maybe it wasn't solely about his journey in art. What if he was unwittingly unveiling parallels that existed in their own lives? The onus of perception was mutual, an intricate dance of acknowledgement and introspection, staring out into the faces, their expressions morphing with every disclosure. Jake realized that this workshop was carving out new dimensions of understanding of him, his family, and the multifaceted tapestry of relationships. He had stepped beyond the confines of being just an artist. He was a messenger sharing dialogues interwoven with dreams, doubts, and desires. The time ticked away, and he could see the groundwork laid for future discussions, a willingness from them to explore the uncharted territories of authenticity. But hidden beneath this new realization lingered a piercing anxiety. How would their perceptions develop with time? Would they ultimately continue to see him as naive, or could he elevate their understanding of the ambition that colored his choices? He could taste the potential victory, yet uncertainty loomed. As he wrapped up the presentations, he felt a shift in the air, a weight balanced on the precipice of change. There was no way of knowing what tomorrow might bring, but one thing was clear: he had taken a vital step toward reclaiming his identity. In that moment, as the garage filled with tentative applause, he caught Maria's gaze, her eyes asking questions only he could answer. What lay ahead, he realized, bore the weight of impending revelations. Could he sustain this momentum to confront not just their opinions, but the self-limiting beliefs he had carried for so long? As the applause faded, a new tension arose, sparking within him questions of deeper exploration. This was merely the beginning, and with it came the challenge of facing the unknown realities waiting in the wings, truths hidden beneath the layers of his existence. The moment of clarity was fleeting, but in its wake, an urgency pulsed within. What would their perspectives yield, and what next steps would demand his courage? As the clapping subsided, Jake absorbed the lingering energy in the room. The moment felt tenuous yet charged, like the instant before a storm breaks. He noticed Maria's tentative smile, nestled within the complex web of uncertainty that her family represented. This was not just an exploration of his art, it was a confrontation with the very narratives that shaped his identity. To ease the tension, he gestured toward the wall where his larger piece hung, a towering sculpture representing transformation. Made from reclaimed wood, its rough edges polished to a sheen. This one illustrates growth, a journey that often carries fragments of our past into our present, Jake explained, aiming to connect further with his audience. He focused on the knots in the wood, each a reminder of imperfections, mistakes, and essential lessons learned. Jordan, Maria's older brother, shifted on his feet, crossing his arms. Is it really a journey if you're just working with old pieces? He put forth, skepticism wrapping around his words like barbed wire. The question stung, igniting Jake's insecurities. Was he simply repurposing the old instead of creating something genuinely new? What if his efforts were merely a veneer for a deeper inertia? He felt his heartbeat quicken and the air thicken. Yes, exactly, he countered, surprising himself with the certainty surging through him. Each piece has a story, an inherent beauty that speaks of moments before now. Isn't that how we grow? We're the cumulative result of what we've been, aren't we? His voice held steadiness that he hadn't expected, yet with it sprang a vulnerability. The tension was palpable, but beneath it was an opportunity for connection rather than conflict. Jordan raised an eyebrow, his protective posture softening slightly. Their exchanges became an exploration, Jake dismantling the critical walls formed by doubt, exposing his growth as well as theirs. As they delved into the conversation surrounding creativity, Jake realized he was also revealing shadowy corners of his own upbringing, areas he still feared to confront. This was bigger than self-expression. This was about trust. Amidst the animated conversation, Jake felt Maria's firm hand on his back, a subtle but powerful reminder of her unwavering support. It anchored him, a clarifying sensation that ignited a determination deep within. Rather than shying away from Jordan's critiques, he began embracing the challenge, using it to redirect his narrative from one of mere desire for approval to a story of building bridges, a bridge not just between his art and the audience, but also between their diverging perspectives. Yet as the discussions continued, an unsettling thought crept in. What if articulating his creative process exposed the very naivety he feared? What if every new dialogue opened deeper questions that he wasn't prepared to answer? The prospect loomed large. Vulnerability could lead to scrutiny that sliced through the fragile fabric of newfound understanding. Other family members chimed in, sharing their own artistic passions and setbacks, creating a beautiful tapestry of shared experiences. Jake listened, nodding through a mix of admiration and skepticism. Could they truly grasp the depths of his ambitions? The panic swelled again. He recognized the roots of his trepidation lay not just in their perceptions, but rather in his unfinished readiness to confront his own evolving artistry and the identity it projected. The thought hung heavy like a dark cloud threatening to unleash a storm. He longed to be honest yet hesitated at the precipice of authenticity. Would fully embracing his narrative risk sealing his reputation with vulnerabilities he was unwilling to bear? Fortunately, amidst the roller coaster of emotions, a revelation sparked in him. Perhaps he could channel his apprehension into a call to action, an invite for them to join him on this wild ride of exploration. It was clear that sharing would unlock new transformations, not just for him but for his audience as well. Let us continue this journey together, he proposed, the tie of uncertainty woven into his words. I want your thoughts, not just on these pieces, but on life as art itself. How do we craft meaning out of circumstances? What do we create from our experiences? A rush of courage coursed through him as he opened the floor to them. As he posed the questions, he felt the walls crack. A shared journey unfolded, one resilient enough to withstand the weight of both dreams and doubts. Despite that, a nagging concern refused to dissipate. In this moment of connection, had he truly revealed himself, or had he set himself up for an inevitable fall into the depth of scrutiny? That uncertainty churned inside him, weaving a tapestry of excitement mixed with fear. The nurturing environment made for discussion felt like both liberation and peril, deepening his quest for identity. As they responded, the forks in the road loomed ahead. Would he embrace this collective exploration into vulnerability or retreat to safer confines as doubts surged back in? In this newfound momentum, Jake understood he had reached a turning point. As he engaged with their questions, the weight of their perceptions shifted and began to lift. Still, the path diverged ahead. What lay in waiting to be unearthed required his utmost courage. The stakes had never been clearer. Yet a mounting urgency pressed on him. How deeply could he delve into the hearts of the very ones who held his past? The desire to uncover hidden truths buzzed like a live wire. It wouldn't be long before the true test awaited. Could he face the narratives locked away in the corners of his family's expectations and his own self-doubt? Conversations flowed with unexpected authenticity, wrapping around Jake like the warmth of sunlight breaking through clouds. He marveled at how sharing had transformed the atmosphere from one of tension to camaraderie. The frayed edges of his insecurities began to fray too, nourishing the seeds of confidence sprouting within him. Yet the discomfort of Jordan's challenge still thrummed beneath the surface. His skepticism, though softened, lingered as a reminder of the sharp criticism that had once defined Jake's world. Could he truly withstand later assessments, judgments that pierced like arrows? The idea of exposing himself complete, Raw and unrefined, the very essence of artist-turned-man felt akin to standing on a precipice, ready to leap without knowing where the ground would meet him. As each family member spoke, sharing stories about their own artistic struggles, Jake was drawn into their narratives. Their vulnerabilities were tangible, and for the first time, he sensed they too wrestled with the weight of their expectations, each tale revealing layers of complexity and an ever-present undercurrent of doubt. He listened, soaking in their candidness, and the connection deepened further. "Art is like a puzzle, isn't it?" Maria's grandmother said, a hint of nostalgia softening her features. "Every piece has its own story, just like us. We spend our lives trying to fit them together, understanding the bigger picture in the process." Her words resonated with him. It was true. The puzzle didn't always come together smoothly. Jake felt a surge of determination ripple through him. He reflected on the intricacies of his own life's puzzle, especially the chaotic, jagged pieces that felt like failures. Perhaps embracing these imperfections was essential not merely for himself, but for them all. Suddenly, the conversation took a turn. "What is your greatest fear, Jake?" Jordan asked, eyes narrowing, no longer simply skeptical, but searching for something deeper. The question landed like a stone in water, rippling outward as the room held its breath. Jake's mind raced. This was the raw nerve he had been avoiding. Would his honesty dive too deeply into his vulnerabilities? Yet, resisting the urge to shield himself, he sensed a subtle yet imperative shift. Perhaps it was time to reveal the shadow he often skirted around. "Fear," he began, his voice steadying itself, "is the thought that my art won't be enough. That I'll always be seen as someone rehashing the past, as a failure at creating something genuine and new. It's an ever-lingering doubt." The air felt charged, alive with the vulnerability he had just laid bare. Jake's heartbeat echoed in his ears, fury and liberation commingling as he dared to confront this specter of fear. He watched their expressions morph from mild surprise to empathy, and suddenly the burden felt lighter. Jordan uncrossed his arms, letting the walls come down just a bit further. "Maybe it doesn't need to be new to matter," he suggested thoughtfully, as if revealing a hard-earned truth. "Maybe it's about how the old pieces fit together, what they teach us about moving forward." The emphasis lingered on the last few words, hinting at deeper understanding in their complexity. Jake did not respond immediately, but absorbed Jordan's insight, the intonation layered with something like kinship. It was a glimpse of trust, of mutual vulnerability becoming richer than isolation ever could. Yet, the implications for his art, for his journey, stirred quietly in the corners of his mind. Feeling emboldened, he turned the dialogue inward, shifting the spotlight back onto his family. "So, how do each of you create from your own stories? How do you face what's uncomfortable?" It was a bold pivot, allowing them to unveil their fears and aspirations. Their heartfelt responses vibrated through the room, reaffirming Jake's instincts. Vulnerability cultivates strength. Hope ignited within him, leading each moment towards collective revelations. But still, the specter of self-doubt hovered, whispering fears of inadequacy to connect. Authentically, he would need to delve even further into the depths of his own truth. As their shared stories grew richer, Jake felt an insatiable drive surge through him. This vein of exploration had just begun to reveal new dimensions of connection. But questions loomed at the edges of his mind. Could he maintain this level of openness as deeper layers unfolded? Would the truths he unearthed strengthen or fracture these newfound ties? With every new revelation, Jake sensed a deep, inevitable challenge ahead. His journey of authentic expression was potent, yet uncharted. The moment beckoned him to dive deeper, to unearth the truths that awaited, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that the real test lay just beyond reach. How many layers could he brave before confronting that threshold of acceptance, the one that would either liberate or redefine his understanding of self? With the sun low on the horizon, casting golden glimmers through the garage windows, Jake felt a palpable sense of transformation. This workshop, once a platform for showcasing his art, had morphed into something far more profound, a window into his evolving self. The earlier tension had dissipated, replaced by a chorus of engaging voices weaving the threads of honesty and vulnerability. Jake stood at the center of it all, ready to embrace the powerful life lesson unfolding before him. The stories they shared resonated in a way that redefined the familial ties he had long held at arm's length. As the room shrugged off its previous judgments, Jake felt an exhilarating urge to continue this journey of openness, not just for himself, but as an invitation for them to consider complexity and depth beyond preconceived notions. He listened as Maria's family spoke of their own fears, how each had grappled, in their own right, with expectations that seemed heavier than any tool he'd ever wielded. Gradually, they began to find a rhythm, a mutual exchange where vulnerability no longer hinted at weakness, but instead illuminated shared humanity. This wasn't merely about Jake proving his worth. This was a collective discovery, a quest to find understanding in the overlap of dreams and doubts. The shift was undeniable. Their previous skepticism began to melt away, replaced by genuine interest and respect. The initial barbs had reshaped into keen questions and thoughtful reflections. Jake's heart raced with the realization of the significance of this moment. He was seen, truly seen. Every acknowledgement from them felt like validation, not just for his craftsmanship, but for the man he'd grown into. "Your work has heart," Maria's sister remarked, her eyes sparkling with a newfound appreciation. "It's about the stories, the journeys embedded within, isn't it?" The ripple of connection spread across the group, binding them together through the artfully sewn fabric of their shared narratives. Jake stood taller, his confidence solidifying. He realized that his hands, worn from labor, had not only shaped wood but also helped carve out a space for authenticity within familial dynamics. This newfound acceptance, evidenced by nods of recognition and laughter unreserved, affirmed that he was more than just a mechanic. He had skills an artist's vision tied intricately to a life forged through resilience and passion. "I want to thank you all for being here, not just for this workshop," Jake said, his voice tinged with gratitude, "but for helping me see that my art isn't merely a pursuit, it's a bridge that connects us." The sincerity in his tone widened their expressions, opening the space even further for dialogue. Emboldened, he took the plunge. "Why don't we continue these conversations? Each of you has something to share, and I'd love for us to explore these themes of creativity and growth together more formally. Perhaps we could start a series of art and life discussions?" The suggestion hung in the air, charged with possibility. Jordan nodded slowly, his skepticism giving way to intrigue. "I think that could help bridge the gap between our perspectives. Let us figure out how to combine our worlds," he replied, a genuine smile breaking through his previously stoic facade. It was a pivotal moment, the currents of understanding swirling around him. Here, under the gentle embrace of dusk, he felt the culmination of all his hard work. Not just as a mechanic or an artisan, but as a family man ready to reshape his destiny and redefine the heritage he wished to pass on. As the evening progressed, applause broke out once more, not just in appreciation of the art or the workshop, but in shared triumph of breaking barriers. The connection was now tangible. The dialogue fostered mutual discovery, and in that, Jake felt the profound sense of accomplishment surge within him. He had reclaimed his narrative with authority, proving that his past and present could coexist harmoniously. Jake left the workshop exhausted yet exhilarated, a sense of completeness filling his chest. Each day had brought new challenges, yet he had triumphed over deeply ingrained insecurities, emerging with solid confidence and recognized competence. No longer merely striving to fit in, he had instead established his place firmly within the familial framework, armed with tools of expression and a foundation of love. Closing the garage door for the last time that day, he stepped out into the cool air, relishing the calm after the storm of emotions. He felt satisfied, fulfilled, and at peace, a man transformed not by validation alone, but by understanding and acceptance both from others and himself. Thank you for joining Jake on this journey of growth. Now it's your turn to support the channel and embrace more transformations like this. You need to subscribe immediately to not miss our next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your appreciation. Comment your thoughts and theories about Jake's journey and what resonated with you most. Share instantly with at least 5 friends who need inspiration in their own lives. Don't wait even one more second to get involved. Your support matters.